Rocket League is a game of ups and downs. I think every last one of us has experienced the thrill of playing at your best, contrasted with the agony of defeat. The competitive playlist can be brutal when you're trying to rise through the ranks and eventually achieve the highest possible rank, Grand Champion. There are, after all, millions of players, but only a few can be at the top. I think that's why when we're talking about the best players in the world, it becomes even more impressive for the names that come up in the conversation. The ups and downs that all Rocket League players experience is surely felt by the world's best players as well. Yet somehow, there are a few players, and in the spectrum of the entire player base, I really mean a few, that have managed to transcend from the inconsistency that for most of us is part of the game. Don't get me wrong, pro players go in and out of form just like the rest of us. It's just their out of form is still at a level that most players can only dream of achieving. Today, I'm going to be showcasing the 20 best players in the world right now. Now, if any of you have followed competitive Rocket League, you'll know that this is basically an impossible task, since pretty much any pro in RLCS or RLRS could pop off at any moment and deserve to be on this list. But I'm still going to make an attempt. That's just one part of the video though. The second purpose of this video is rather than just listing each of the pros' names, we're going to be selecting their best, most memorable career goal to date. Now this is obviously subjective, but I'm sure you'll pick up on my criteria as we go through the list. I'm not just selecting each player's goal based on the mechanical skill of the goal, though that's definitely a big factor, but also the context. Likewise, I've selected the top players based both on technical skill and results in big tournaments, particularly the premier Rocket League event, RLCS. Let's start with some honorable mentions, and really these guys could easily be on this list. The RL competitive scene is about as stable as an active volcano, with team and roster changes happening all the time, and another big Rocket League tournament coming up this weekend with DreamHack Montreal, where we could see any of these players make a case for being further up the list. But anyway, my 5 honorable mentions are AJ, Fruity, Drippe, Bluey, and Speed. And Astral. Okay, actually I need 6, because I need to include Astral because he seems pretty nuts even though we haven't seen too much of him yet. Here are their best goals so far. For AJ, this is an easy one for me. This is from the most recent RLCS LAN in Newark. He actually had a ton of amazing goals during the regular season, but it was really capitalized by this flip reset at his first LAN. I think it really proved that not only did he belong there, he could dominate.
About finding those flip resets and pushing it through.
For our second honorable mention, we have Drippe. It's really a shame he's not on a team right now because he's still proven that he's a top player. His best goal for me though goes all the way back to season 4 in this beautiful passing sequence with Jake. It really showed off their chemistry and also that the OCE teams could really hang with the best.
And they bring it back to Drippe and back to Jake.
Third in honorable mentions is Speed.
Too distracting or something. What a shot those.
This tournament, the WSOE, was Speed's chance to prove himself, and boy did he ever. It's actually kind of hard to pick a goal from this tournament because it was such a strong showing for Speed.
It puts him in a fantastic position.
Fruity isn't a player that's known for his flashy goals, but he's been playing incredibly well for his team lately. And this has to be one of the most satisfying dunks I've ever seen. Pay attention to who he's dunking on too. That guy will probably make an appearance later. When I think of Bluey, I think of this goal from season 4.
Ball up high. He's got one tap. He's going to look for the second one. He's going to do it.
This was Bluey's first RLCS LAN, and believe it or not, it was just one of his highlight reel goals. Violet Panda has reportedly called Astral one of the best mechanical players in the world right now, and I think we all saw why at Beyond the Summit a couple weeks ago.
Insane. No.
What?
Okay.
Now it's time to move into our top 20. And here at number 20, I have Rizzo. He's another one of those players that's known more for his passing and team plays, but he does have a couple pretty nice highlights at LAN. And for me, this one is his most memorable because it's just so savage.
This kill shot.
Oh my goodness.
At number 19, we have Devo. This one's pretty difficult because he has this insane play in London. But really, I'm going to say his most memorable goal is this double tap from the season before. Any longtime Rocket League fans will think of this goal when they think of Devo.
Devo! Reading Fairy Pig's first touch. What is that? An absolute monster.
At 18, we have METSANAURIS. TSM hasn't been performing great lately, but he's still on this list because of plays like this. At 17, we have the newcomer Flakes, who proved his worth by leading complexity into RLCS.
So again, a little bit of a breakdown of understanding.
That's why his best goal so far is from the RLRS promotional tournament.
A sweet ground to air dribble for Flakes, and another multi-goal game.
Number 16 is another player who's known more for his passing than his goals, Violent Panda.
Here's Panda.
Get down to K-Dot with passing play.
For me, his best goal is from RLCS Season 5 in London, which was peak Dignitas when they were absolutely at their best. This goal does a great job of showcasing just how dominant Dignitas was in tearing apart the best teams. At 15, we have longtime legend Kronovi. For players like Kronovi that have been around for so long yet are still here at the top, I love going back and looking at the most memorable older goals, and this is definitely one of them. The cool thing about this one is the mechanics are not actually that impressive anymore, which just goes to show you how long Kronovi's been in the scene, and makes it that much more memorable.
That is a Mog at the camera moment. That is just dirty.
At number 14, we have another legend, Kuxir. And of course, his most memorable goal is an RLCS Kuxir pinch.
No way! What are you kidding me? Look at this pinch from Kuxir. I don't believe what I'm seeing right now. 124 kilometers per hour.
Not the last one he'd pull off, but definitely the most memorable. At number 13, we have up-and-coming Chicago. This was Chicago's first LAN, and I think this goal really showed us what he was capable of.
No fear, and he struck it down. The rookie strike.
Clearly, Rocket League fans weren't the only ones that were impressed, because after this LAN, Chicago landed a nice contract with G2.
Off the crossbar. Puts that
I think people sleep on Alpha just because of how quiet his personality is, but goals like this make him impossible to ignore.
Across the post and defend it anyway.
Oh my goodness!
Alpha 54, hello! But he was perfectly set up for this play. Rotates around and gets the flip over AJ. Nothing he can do about it. What a play.
At number 11, we have JNaps. His most memorable goal, for me, comes from DreamHack Leipzig in 2018.
Make that life a little bit more difficult for Fnatic. That could go in, and that will go in. JNaps.
This was peak JNaps when he was probably the best player in the world at that time mechanically. He would go on to carry G2 to his second place finish in this tournament.
That was a great play. Put it down into the box.
Entering the top 10, we have Torment. Now, his most mechanical goal probably came from Season 6 in the regular season, but I think the best goals in his career came a little later in Vegas at RLCS LAN in the Grand Finals. This is kind of a joke, but I'm actually going to make it off of Squishy's flip reset here, because this was technically Torment's goal, and I think it actually illustrates this series perfectly, where Torment was just always in the right spot cleaning up goals, all series for Cloud9. I also think it should be this goal because he ended up taking the MVP for this series. At number 9, we have the 3-time Turbo Pulsa. I think his career-defining goal came at the RLCS World Championships in Season 3.
The whole team doesn't matter, does it himself?
The funny thing is, Turbo was actually a substitute for this team. Of course, Northern Gaming would go on to win this RLCS, and for me, this goal just marks the beginning of an era of dominance for him. At number 8, we have Gimmick. Like Torment, Gimmick was playing the best Rocket League of his life in Season 6 when Cloud9 won RLCS.
Can he hit it? Bounces it by the defense.
He honestly scored like 5 goals exactly like this, but I think this one was most impressive because he's freestyling and he just drains it over 2 of the best defenders in the world.
Underneath the ball, K-Dot even trying to read that.
At number 7, we have the world champion Scrub KILLA. Scrub's known for his 1v1 play, and he actually has a long list of incredible highlight goals, but I think it's appropriate to show this one because it was his first LAN, and there's just something so incredibly hype about 0-second goals. I think this goal will stick out to Scrub KILLA fans for a long time in the future, even though it was basic. Especially considering Scrub would go on to win this series and his first world championship.
But Scrub KILLA.
Next, we have Shawset. He's been a top player for a few seasons now, but I think here in RLCS League play in Season 7, he really took it to a whole nother level with this wave dash ceiling shot thing that's just incredible to watch.
What a play coming in right away, and he boosts all the way up to the ceiling. That's how fast he was able to get to the ball.
Moving into the top 5, we have Squishy Muffins.
Unable to take it, but Squishy now with the ceiling shot. He puts it.
You would think this would be a really easy one to pick, but the fact that he had quite a few amazing goals in Cloud9's winning RLCS run made it actually a little more difficult, but we still have to go with this ceiling shot from Season 4. It was the first ceiling shot in RLCS, and it was just such an iconic play. I have a hard time choosing any other play for Squishy's most memorable goal. Moving into number 4, we have Fairy Peak. Fairy Peak is another legend who's been at the top for a long time, and that's why his most memorable goal doesn't actually come from his most recent RLCS championship, but instead from all the way back in Season 4 with this insane touch where he just flies over everyone and somehow manages to caress it into the net. It's just so Fairy Peak.
Still continues to execute, falling so far for that haul on Kronovi to make that save.
The number 3 player in the world right now, I believe, is Garrett G. Garrett's recently pulled off a couple amazing goals, but this one still sticks out as the most memorable for me.
Oh my goodness! Oh my Garrett!
It's from the RLCS finals in season 5, and I think it's just the fact that he was bumped into the ceiling and still manages to pull off this insane shot that makes it still Garrett's marquee goal for me. Now moving to number 2, we have Justin. And this was definitely the easiest goal to pick. Probably the most famous goal in Rocket League history. This is Rocket League.
Justin hits that for the shot. Justin! This is Rocket League! They did it! The Rookie of the Year!
And now finally, the best player in the world. At number 1, we have none other than Classics. No, but we should really acknowledge all these players that could easily be on this list. I mean, we have Farah, Yukio, Magnus, Remco, Wonder, iGnite, Alat, Roniki, Memory, Lethamir, Greasy, Tadpole, Torsos, Sipical, CJ, Casio, I mean, we could go on and on. There's a lot of incredible Rocket League players out there. But we do have to name our number 1, and that is pretty easy for me. It's of course K-Dop. It's hard to imagine someone else dominating more than K-Dop at this point. He's the highest earning player of all time so far. He's won the most so far. He left the most dominant team, joined another team, and then won a championship with that team. It's just pretty clear that he's number 1 right now. It also makes it hard to pick a goal, but I think I'm gonna have to go back to season 5 in London, which of course Dignitas ended up winning. But it's this insane team play where he gives it to Panda, goes up on the wall, and just somehow hits this angle that I still don't really understand. All I know is this goal is just so K-Dop. And for me, this is his career-defining goal so far. Although there could easily be like 4 or 5 others. He's had some crazy double taps at lands too.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. I've been on the flex since flex zone. Neighborhood all in your eardrums.